I keep hearing screams at 2 a.m. Last night I found out what it was. It's been happening nearly every night for the past 3 weeks. The screaming, I mean. The roar and, well, I guess now that I just remembered about it, the new crack in my ceiling. But let me backtrack so you understand why we're all so freaked out right now. My best friends and I just moved into a brand new apartment building in LA. It's so new that we're some of the first people that live in the building at all. The place is gorgeous. I mean, really, in the city of Los Angeles. And for a steal on top of that, $2,500 a month for rent? That's unheard of. You can't find a safe, halfway decent apartment in this city for anything less than 4K. It just doesn't happen. Except for one thing. It's downtown. I don't know how many of you have ever been in downtown Los Angeles, but it's a block by block scenario. By this I mean, you walk down one block, you might as well be in Silver Lake. And the next, well, you're surrounded by haunted buildings that used to have serial killers in it. Look it up. Search haunted places in downtown LA. You'll be amazed what you find. However, thankfully, our building isn't close to most of the haunted stuff downtown, so it didn't bother me. My friends Jess, Hannah, and Rachel had never lived in a city as big as Los Angeles. But I managed to convince them to give it a try because, well, the lease was only for a year, and if we hated it, at least we were saving a ton of money by splitting the rent. The first few days that we were here were fine. Nothing weird, nothing strange. Just us unpacking our crap. Having sleepovers in the living room, a good old time. Trying to figure out how we could extend the Wi-Fi. Spoiler alert, just trying to DIY a solution, and we ended up having to pay $500+ in service just to undo her mess. And then we eventually just settled the night out by watching Netflix. But then it started. The screams. Jess heard them first. She woke me up at 2:30 in the morning talking about how she could hear someone screaming and could I please come to her room to check it out, like I could do something about it. We all ended up going into her room together, for the first 5 minutes of course, but we didn't hear anything. Then it started again. And it sounded like a man screaming bloody murder. Like it was coming from the apartment building itself. Now I'm gonna save y'all a lot of trouble here and tell you that no. Obviously, we did not know where the sound was coming from, and we didn't want to find it that night. Would you? We just ended up chalking it up to someone in the building playing a movie really loud, really late at night, and left it at that. Of course, for the first day that was fine, but it kept happening. But always a different person being woken up by the screams, which I found odd. After Jess, it was Rachel, then Hannah, and then me. The first time that I had heard it, I was fast asleep, and I thought it was part of my dream. It sounded low, hollow, almost like an echo. It was drawn out and kind of felt like it was a recording that was slowed down by software or a broken record player. By the time I woke up, I realized that the sound was coming from directly above my room. I mean, it had to be. It sounded so damn close. I got the girls up and we did the same routine. We stood in the room, listened for a few minutes, and sure enough, the scream started again. I even walked out onto my balcony and looked up. The window above my room was open. I had Jess and Hannah stand out there with me so they could hear the screams. And just as I had confirmed, they did the same. Directly from above us. The next day we went upstairs to look around, but we didn't see anything. So we decided to go to the leasing office to see if anyone's complained about screaming. Admittedly, we hadn't contacted security at our building, or even the leasing office previously about the screams, although we probably should have. Afterward, we were told by the office that not only had not any other... We were told by the office that not only had they not had any other... We were told by the office that not only did they have no other complaints about the building, but that the 13th floor, the floor above ours, wasn't even ready for tenants yet. That's that, right? Wrong. Because the screaming continued for the next 2 weeks. Only now, it happened all the time. Usually when one or two of us were at home. And it got to the point where Rachel told me that she could hear the man laughing, crying, and screaming at the same time. And I guess if it were just screams, we could ignore it. I mean, that's that's not a big thing to ask. Ignoring screams in the middle of the night for, like, a cheap apartment. And I guess if it were just screams, we could have ignored it. I mean, that's not too much of a thing to ask, ignoring screams in the middle of a night and in an apartment this nice for this low of a cost. None of us wanted to leave. Of course. Until last night, that is. Last night we all stayed up, talking about what the hell could possibly be going on in the apartment above us. We'd spoken to other people about the stuff going on, and some people had weird experiences, but nothing like the screams that we had heard. Before we knew it, we were in the living room this time. All the windows in the place were open, as well as the balcony door leading to the outside. The screams were coming from directly above us, and this time, we could hear everything. The man was screaming and crying about how he didn't want to die, how he wanted more time. I could hear something murmuring to him, sometimes chuckling, sometimes trying to soothe him. I didn't know if it was another man or a woman or what the hell it was. We decided that we'd had enough, and that if the landlord wasn't going to do something about it, we would. Rachel and Jess started recording the screams on their phones, and Jess and I went to her room to call the police. Before we could do anything, however, we heard a deep, low, cold voice rumble through the apartment, yelling at the man to do it or he'd be sorry. A second later, we'd heard a gunshot ring out. It echoed through the alleyway behind our apartment building and shot into the night. All four of us nearly ran over each other trying to get to the front door. Before we could open it, we heard a roar that hurt our ears so badly that we had to cover them. It was stomping. Once, twice, 3 times it kept happening. Louder and louder each time. We could literally see a deep crack form in our still brightly lit living room, and we watched it race towards the front door. That's when the laughing started. A laugh that sounded like a combination of a cackle from a hag and a crackling fire. Trust me, we didn't stick around to hear anything else. We ran to our car, and we called the cops from the inside of it. We were definitely not going to stay there for the rest of the night. We got back this morning to find out that a man had been squatting in the empty unit above ours, and that he was dead from a self-inflicted wound to the gut. Apparently, nothing else had been found in the unit. At least, that's what the leasing office told us. But the rumor in the building is that the guy was still alive when the cops showed up. Some of the residents say that he was trying to cut his own face as he was being carried away, screaming something in a weird language, laughing about how he'd finally gotten rid of it, whatever that was. So because none of us want to die, we're trying to break our lease and move out. Hannah's dad's a lawyer, so he's trying to see if he can help us find a way out of this mess. For now, we're all couch surfing. I've got a friend in NoHo with a free room, so that's where I'm writing this from. But I did find something weird in the apartment when I was packing my bag. Out on my balcony was a nearly full pack of cigarettes, a long silver lighter, and a red leather handbook that looks handmade. It's got weird symbols in front of it, all forming together in a circle with a triangle encompassing all of it. I think it belonged to the guy in the unit above us. I took it with me, but don't worry, I'm not stupid. I'm not opening it, and I have it packed all together. And it's all wrapped up in a white cloth lined with a rosary, white sage, and salt. I am not taking any risks. Trust me, if you heard what we heard, you'd be doing the same, if not more. I have a friend that deals with weird things like this, and I'm gonna give it to him. Let him do his thing with it. He can handle it. I mean, he's handled far worse. I think. I hope. Me? Oh, I'm done. I don't want to know any more about this stuff. I've had enough. I just want to find a decent apartment that doesn't include hearing screams at 2 a.m. as a part of its package. And that, my friends, concludes this story time. I hope every one of you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. If you would like to continue to be preview to more stories like this and listening to me read them out aloud, go ahead and subscribe, because I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys have a good night, and stay safe out there.